Oh, yeah, it's hockey season time. We had a little bit of a glimpse yesterday with four teams going onto the ice, but the puck drops, and we need to talk about what we think will happen, what we may want to happen, and as for the Sharks, what we hope won't happen. Let's talk about it right now. You're on Teal Town, USA. Good afternoon, or if you're in the East Coast, like many of our panelists, good evening, everyone. It is October 13th, 2021, and the puck drops on a brand new National Hockey League season. We'll get into that, who we think will be in the Cup Final come June, and a lot more. Welcome to Teal Town, USA. If you haven't been a part of here, here's how we roll. We want you to be a part of the show, chat with us and fellow hockey fans on the YouTube chat, on the page, or the app. And of course, you can follow us on the Twitter machine, whether it's, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Hit that subscribe button to our YouTube channel. We really do appreciate that. And of course, all the social media, and follow us on podcast-wise, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all that fun stuff and more at tealtownusa.com. So with that, we have a foursome, who for some reason all of a sudden I can't see, but I'll introduce you to each and every one of them, starting off with the Manhattan man that he is, Mr. Mark Eisenberg.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? It's great to be back.
It's great to get back to talking hockey. We also have the lovable, angry Canadian robot. He is Mr. Ian Reid.
Hello. Good to be back again. Yeah, excited to be back. Excited for the season to finally get going and start doing this more regularly again, for sure.
And he does spell his name the right way, but considering the off-season haircuts and such, probably the last person to really, we could say, San Flose to, Mr. Erik Landi.
You're back.
Indeed. So it's good to have you all back. We're just trying to get back into the puck drop and everything. So we'll begin with our opening face-off. We had two games that happened last night in the National Hockey League. We had Seattle kind of get their inaugural game kick-started, per se, as the as they lost to the Vegas Golden Knights 4-3. Ian, I'll start with you. What did you take from the debut of the Kraken?
I mean, Kraken are an interesting team, and I don't know quite what to make of them, right? Like, much like Vegas was when they first came in, like, I don't think the expectation, like, I know what Vegas did, but I still, the expectations going into the season weren't incredibly high for Vegas when they went in. Now, I know there's been some revisionist history on that, but that's the history. I don't know what to make of this Kraken team yet. So it's going to be interesting to see how they go.
Landy, what did you take from Vegas? Coming up with giving up a 3-0 lead and somehow skate to a 4-3 victory.
Vegas gonna Vegas? I don't know. I mean, look, I think with regard to where Seattle is, they're a team, right? I think that you could use that Pierre Dorianism. They're a team. And, honestly, what can we say more than Vegas playing with its food?
Yeah. But to me, Mark, Vegas looks beatable still.
Yeah, I think the vibe is a little bit different this year with Vegas. I don't know. People aren't huge on Reeves, but something about Reeves leaving just makes that team a little bit less scary. And I know they still have all the talent they had, but I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. The drama with Fleury and Leonard, or how Fleury left the franchise, those kind of things I feel like are weighing over Vegas. So it's going to be interesting to see how. I don't know. I'm just not as scared of them as I used to be.
Yeah, I mean, I think with them being in the weak division, and boy howdy, how many times have we heard that they're in a weak division?
Everyone loves to say that.
Right. You know, you wouldn't say that in the Metropolitan Division, right, NBC?
Oh, you won't say it in the Central either.
Yeah, true. But we'll kind of break down the Pacific as we go in the later show. But let's first start out East in the Eastern Conference. You know, we can talk about Tampa maybe having, you know, slightly a hiccup last night. They lost 6-2 to a Crosby and Malkinless Pittsburgh Penguins, and you know we got the clip here. But you know, John Cooper wasn't too happy with his crew watching things last night.
I don't know. I guess you could Monday morning quarterback this whole thing, but in the end, they beat us to every puck. They worked harder than us. They were better than us in every facet of the game. If it wasn't for a goalie, it probably would have been way worse.
I can coast through the season, and then they know when to turn the switch. They can flip the switch when the playoffs start. All they have to do is get there, and they are an absolute threat. Oh, I screwed up, didn't I?
Oh, you're good. You're good. I cut John Cooper off, but we got the gist of it there. But like you said, they can flip the switch. This team isn't, I don't want to say built dominant per se, but Mark, any concern out of losing to a Pittsburgh squad like that?
No, I think teams tend to not always fare well on banner nights as well.
Yeah.
They're kind of riding all those emotions early on. So I wouldn't read into either result, whether it's positive for the Penguins or negative for Tampa.
Yeah.
No,
I think I have to echo what Mark's saying as well. You know, it's just you've got the emotion of raising the banner. You've got the fans back in the stands. You've got, you know, a lot of excitement in and around the organization. And there's going to be some lofty expectations as well thrown at them. So I think all of the above, really, and you kind of got a recipe for a letdown.
Yeah, and it's one of those moments where you celebrate things and you can just be disappointed about it, but at the same time, it's Tampa. Come on now, they're going to be a lot better than I think this effort showed. So,
oh yeah, like I said, like this is a team that knows when to turn it on, and I think, like obviously, with the nature of the cap and everything else, like yeah, they lost some important pieces, but I still think if you look at the talent there's still more than enough talent to try and go for a three-peat. Do I think they're going to three-peat? No, but they have the talent to do it. Like,
oh, absolutely. Absolutely do they have the talent. Their opponent in the Stanley Cup Final was Montreal, who recently signed a Nick Suzuki to an 8-year, $63 million deal. Granted, no Philip Deneau. He went to L.A. Unfortunately, no Carey Price due to things that are going on, and we wish him all the best. Mark, I'll start with you. Can Montreal, I don't want to say get back to the final. I want to say, can they get back to the playoffs?
I do not have them as a playoff team this year. I think everyone was fairly shocked with what they did last year. And while I think they have some good young pieces and possibly the future Calder Trophy winner, I don't see them as a playoff team.
Landy?
Same. You know, I think it was an aberration, and definitely a COVID related sneak into the playoffs. And yeah, I don't have them being a playoff team at all this year.
No, there's just, I don't see how they get in. Like, you have to get past. Now, obviously, I think this division is like the super haves and haves not, right? I mean,
Right.
On one end, you have Tampa, you have Toronto, you have Florida. You know, is Boston still going to be a playoff team? I think they're going to be right in the fight there, and they could be looking for that wild card spot. Now, Detroit, Buffalo, Ottawa don't. I think Ottawa is going to be better, but they still don't scare me. I don't see a path for them. Like the other teams, the teams on the top are just too good. Like how do you get in? Like, I understand that, you got in and you due to the playoff format, and you got in and they were able to make some noise in the playoffs. But I don't see a path for them in, let alone to make noise once they get there.
I think their one path that you talk about path away in there, Ian. I think the one path would be if the Florida Panthers let down again, and I think if the Florida Panthers scuffle in that third spot, maybe there's a little bit of daylight coming in. But when I look at the roster right now for Montreal and I look at Boston, and I go, okay, who would I rather have between those two? I think I would pick Boston, wouldn't you?
Well, I hate the Bruins, but I mean, they're the team that I would pick to go.
The roster, not necessarily.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be interesting. Like, Boston's got some interesting stuff going on there too, right? No Tuukka Rask. That's going to be interesting. I mean, so there's questions in Boston for sure. But I look at Montreal and I look at, again, and that's the wild card. And, 2 wild card might even come from the Metro. So, like, the path for them, in my opinion, is they have to get one of the top 3 seeds. I can't see them finishing higher than Tampa, Florida, or Toronto.
Yeah, I would have to take one of those teams to really fall out of it.
Guys, what do you think? Let's get into Toronto, since you mentioned Toronto here. I mean, my God, they blew a 3-1 series lead. I haven't gone through the entire Amazon All or Nothing series with them, but is this the year they'll finally get over that first round hump? Forget the cup at this point, but Mark, I mean, can they get past their, well, it'll be 18-year fix of not making it?
It's a tough question. I think they're likely playing. I mean, that conference is jacked up, so they're likely playing a tough team in the first round, and there is just so much focus playing in Toronto. So just these players, they tend to struggle when it comes to those hard moments. I don't know. It really, I think, depends on health. I still think they have, obviously, super talented lineup, at least at the top end of it. I don't know about their goaltending, and on the back end, it's okay. So some of those things kind of get exposed in 7-game series, and I think they're obviously a playoff team, but no one in Toronto is going to be happy with making the playoffs. They want second round, third round, and even a cup. So I personally think they're going to be disappointed again, but I wouldn't be surprised with that talent if they finally break through and win a series.
Yeah, it's hard, right? Because like this is a team where I look at it and I say I don't love the sum of its parts right now. Like Mark said, top end super talented, but I have question marks in goal as well. This is a team to me that this is a team to me that is going to get there and they're going to try and do something. Like they have to do something at the trade deadline, in my opinion. And this is kind of a cop-out answer, but I really, that's where I really want to see what they do before I'd be like, yeah, this is this team, like they have the talent to get to the second round, but who are they going to play? I don't know. I think the jury's going to be out till the trade deadline.
Yeah, I think this is the year, but a bad injury or such. I mean, if Austin Matthews' injury were to loom longer, there is that concern, I think, all around. One of the teams that can take over them is the Florida Panthers, getting some quiet Stanley Cup talk. I would say led by, Jonathan Huberdeau, but let's be honest here. It's all about Joe Thornton. Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Hi, yeah, bud. Well, I'm in South Beach. Yeah, bud. You have Sergei Bobrovsky. Spencer Knight as your goaltending net minding tandem. You have Jonathan Huberdeau. And don't forget Sasha Barkov just signed to a big deal. Landi. Are the Panthers for real? Could they overtake the Lightning as the best team, let alone not just in the Atlantic, but maybe in Florida?
Well, they got to show it to me first, right? I mean, that's the knock that Florida has been, with them, is that, when it comes to the big moment, they're kind of shrinking violets a little bit, or they get themselves into an extended rut and they're not able to pull themselves out of a death spiral. And so before I see any prognostication that this team is going to be on the ascent for a Stanley Cup, I want to see them in the second round at least. And they haven't, to me at least, they haven't earned that yet. And this is going to be the year I think that they'll hit critical mass, and I think that they will be I think they'll be in for a long ride in the playoffs this year. But I could see them kind of being almost like Colorado, where they get to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then they'll have to suffer a loss before they can win it. So that's kind of where I see them on their ascent right now.
Mark, what do you think of the Panthers? Are they got a shot, or are they kind of pretenders and might have trouble just getting out of their own division?
I always wonder what they could be if they didn't have Barkov's $10 million on their books, but not Barkov, sorry, Bobrovsky's $10 million, on their books. But they're exactly what Landy said. They have talent, and they're fairly balanced too. It's not like Toronto where it's all the top line. I think they could win a series, but it's all about matchups. It's who they end up facing in the first round. There's a few teams in the East that I just can't see them beating in a 7-game series, but I'll be actually rooting for them in the East with Jumbo on that team this year.
Big time.
Yeah, I mean, I think I look at this team, and like the only real concerns I have is obviously, is Spencer Knight going to be the real deal? I think he is, but he's still got to, he's still got to prove that he's the real deal. And we've seen, top ranked goalies stumble. We watched what happened in Philly with Starter Hart. So I want to see Spencer Knight obviously be able to carry the load, and man, can Aaron Ekblad stay healthy? That's another big thing for me too. But
did you say Starter Hart or Carter Hart?
I did say Starter Hart. But I want to see, that's what I want to see. But I mean, there's so many, there's a lot of young players on this team that I like, and there's a lot to like here. I think they're definitely a playoff team. I think they're firmly in the playoffs. But once they get there, I'm not sure what they do. Matchups are going to be big, especially in the East. I think there's so many good teams in the East this year. But I think Florida's going to be good this year.
Yeah. And now let's talk about, the mainstay in America per se, New York. To me, and Mark, I'll come to you first since you're right there. Who's the better team in New York? Is it the Islanders or is it the Rangers?
I think it's definitely the Islanders, and I actually am very curious on the Rangers, but I did not love their offseason, and I think way too much focus is going into toughening up the team. But the Islanders, I think they are going to do exactly what they did last year and the year before that, and that is go have a decent run. Whether they get into the final this year, who knows? We'll see. But their team is just it's a machine. It's the same thing every game. They're pounding you. They're playing great defense. They have some talent offensively, and they're just run like a franchise should be run right now. So I think the Islanders are significantly better than the Rangers right now. That doesn't mean necessarily the Rangers aren't a top-level team capable this year. I do actually have them making the playoffs, but Islanders all the way there.
Landy, I mean, this team has made back-to-back runs into the third round. The only thing they're missing are those beautiful fisherman jerseys. I mean, what's to say for the Islanders?
I mean, I look at that division and I go, okay, who's going to be the one to knock them off? And I don't think it'll be Pittsburgh. I don't think it'll be Washington. Carolina maybe, but I think that there's still some question marks there. And I think that they got a lot better, I think, with the offseason move. But I think again Carolina's kind of in that pot with with the Panthers. they're the darlings, they're the really hipster pick. But again, I want to see them in an Eastern Conference Final. I want to see them win an Eastern Conference Final. And so, yeah, I think for me, at least, it's going to be the Islanders going to win that division. And I think probably Carolina will come up second. And then I think it'll be an open spot for that third spot, whether that would be, Washington, Pittsburgh, Philadelphia. I don't have much faith right now that Columbus is going to be, all that great. And I think the New York Rangers have some pieces, but I think that their young guys are really going to have to fill. I feel like they're still a center short, and I feel like, if they can get some production from their younger guys this year, that the Rangers could make a push for it. But then again, you also have New Jersey as well, who's a very young team, who's also, got aspirations of moving on up. So it's going to be a difficult division. And I wouldn't be surprised if the two wild cards both come out of the Metro, because it is going to be that much of a dogfight out of there.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely echo what Landy said about the wild card. I think that's probably a safe place to put your money, is both wild cards, coming out of the Metropolitan Division. The Islanders are a really good team, and I feel like they, Lou Lamoriello has managed to keep this team competitive regardless of cap or anything. Like, he always finds a way to get the guys he wants at the price he wants. They're going to be a fascinating team for me to watch this year. Islanders, they're a fascinating team. I think that they're definitely a playoff team for sure. As for the Rangers, I agree with Mark. Too much emphasis on getting tougher. I think this Rangers team was having quite a model rebuild as far as I was concerned, with some of the players they picked up and everything else. And then they kind of just, the owner comes in and meddles, and next thing it's time to go. And I know a lot of people always kind of get on Hasso, and they're like, oh, where's Hasso? Hasso never does things. I would rather Hasso Plattner letting Doug Wilson or letting the hockey people make the hockey decisions over having the owner come in one day and just be like, nah, you know what, just blow this all up and change everything. And because I'm mad, like, I will take a Hasso Plattner over a James Dolan any day.
All right. Now, and you mentioned Pittsburgh and Washington, longtime favorites of NBC. Let's be honest here. Ovechkin, Crosby. Of course, Crosby's out. They thought he might go last night, but he couldn't. Malkin's out for a couple of months. Ovechkin, he had that leg injury near the end of preseason. Two mainstays that should be fighting out in the Metro. Ian, I mean, do they got a shot, or are they kind of uphill with the new and uppercomers?
I think Pittsburgh, when it's all said and done, is still a playoff team. I don't know if they're a playoff team that's going to do anything. I'm not a big Tristan Jarry guy. But there's still enough there, right? Like, Pittsburgh, they're going to go for it. As long as they can go for it, as long as Crosby and Malkin are there, they're going to go for it. And they should, because as long as you got those two guys wrapped up, then, you go for it as long as you can. But there's probably, I think pain's coming for Pittsburgh. It might not be in the next couple of years, but it's coming. Washington's a team, like, again, this division is so stacked. Like, it's funny saying, like, to me, like, Washington, this is probably a bubble. And it's weird saying that about the Capitals, but this division is so stacked that, I mean, there's only, who's the dog in this division? Jersey, I guess. Like, other than that, is there really a dog here? Maybe the Flyers.
I was gonna say the Jackets.
Yeah, the Jackets. I will give you the Jackets. Yeah, but I mean, but other than that, like,
yeah, I mean, I think that they're kind of like in that pool with Boston, right? I think it's Boston, Pittsburgh and Washington could all be fighting for one of two wild card spots. It's just that same kind of like, same cast of characters that have kind of always sniffed in and around playoffs. They're proud franchises. And again, I think it could just go to that final that final week of the season to decide who's going to get one of the last, two of those spots. And I think it's probably going to be those three teams that will fight it out. Whether or not, Philadelphia will enter into that mix, I think it's going to be the goaltending. Yeah.
And for all you guys remember, if Martin Jones, I feel so silly saying this right now, if Martin Jones plays in over 20 games and has a .915 save percentage or higher, Mr. Ian will shave his head.
Oh my God.
That's what happened. This is what happens this summer when people are annoying me in the chat. I make stupid things like this, but based on the preseason and the Flyers' reaction to Martin Jones so far, I feel like my flow is pretty safe.
I would agree. Ian. I would agree.
That's a bold move, Cotton. We'll see how it plays out, my friend.
Well, and it'll be on this channel too.
Oh, absolutely.
That was the deal.
Absolutely.
So
make that big
Martin
deal.
Jones, continue being Martin Jones for the sake of my hair, please.
Good stuff. All right, guys, let's head on to the West here, and where we begin in the Central. Colorado loses Philip Grubauer to Seattle. They go with Darcy Kemper. Dallas still looks promising. Chicago's made kind of a run now that he got Marc-Andre Fleury. I mean, Mark, I'll start with you on this. In the Central, who are the studs? Who are the duds in this division?
So I think Central might actually be one of the strongest divisions in the league. It's actually the only division that I have 5 teams coming out of. Because I actually do think in the East, both divisions are going to get 4 teams in. But from the Central, especially with the weakness in the Pacific, I think 5 teams are going to make the playoffs. The Avs are obviously a beast, but they haven't really done much in the playoffs to prove anything yet. But their team is young. They've got superstar talent, and they're fairly balanced. I'm not really as concerned about losing Grubauer for that team, to be honest. So I think they're the best team in the division, but I think a few teams might surprise you either on the way up or down this year. I'm interested to see what Fleury does with the Blackhawks, and if the Blackhawks are slightly improved this year with getting Jones as well. So they're one to watch, and I'm also interested to see what the Wild do, because I kind of was one of the people who thought last year might have been a little bit of a fluke because they were in a super weak division. We'll say that a million times during this call, but I really don't. I'm not 100% sold on the Wild, so that's kind of my opinion on them.
Landy, are the Wild mild, or do you see Dallas shining? What's the vibe you're getting from the Central?
I mean, the Central is going to be. I think you're definitely gonna have Colorado, lead the Central, and I think St. Louis, Winnipeg could, flop for 2 and 3, and then I see it kind of like you guys do, where Dallas, Nashville, Chicago, and Minnesota are going to be 4 teams fighting for 2 spots, and to me, I look at the most explosive players, and I go Minnesota, and I'm looking at Chicago, guys, and I'm thinking they're getting Taves back. We don't know what exactly he's going to be like, but if Buster Posey can resurrect his career, sorry to use a baseball guy, but if he can resurrect his career, in his age 34 year. As a catcher, one of the most demanding positions in the sport. A year with Jonathan Taves off, I don't know. Might be really interesting to see what exactly he can bring. You also put Fleury, and then of course they also still have Kane, and then they've also got Cat, right? So I mean. Chicago, I think it wouldn't surprise me if they're the number 1 wild card. And then it would be, Minnesota with Krill leading them to the second wild card spot. And I could see Nashville and Dallas falling out of it. Dallas, just because I'm concerned that their top end players, are going to start to see the decline. I think this year we might see the Joe Pavelski decline that we've all been, predicting. But their defense core has a couple questions. I mean, you got Heiskin, of course, but after that, I do wonder a little bit about the depth throughout their defensive core. Yeah, to me, I think it's going to be Chicago and then Minnesota. That's what I would say.
Well, I'm stunned you guys aren't saying anything about how quickly the Central could be perfect for the Coyotes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, I mean, like, for me, the teams that are out of it, like that aren't even going to be a factor to me. Obviously, the Coyotes. The Coyotes, number one with a bullet. They're going to be awful. Yeah. And then I think next is Nashville. I don't expect anything from Nashville this year. I'm a lot higher on the Stars than Landy is, I think. I don't know what to make of St. Louis. Like, St. Louis is still there, but I think, again, it's going to be a really tough division, and I'm not sure. I don't know if I would be comfortable saying St. Louis is a playoff team. I think Colorado definitely is in. But beyond that, like, I don't know where this finishes. I think Chicago, obviously, they need to change the narrative around that team any way possible. And they've definitely, from an on-ice perspective, at least tried to do that this summer. I like a lot of their moves. So I'm curious to see what Chicago does, but I think Dallas is going to be really good. I think Dallas started last year kind of behind the eight ball, COVID issues, and they were just never able to catch up. I think this year coming in ideally healthy, I think as healthy as this team's ever been. I think that they're going to be a team to watch, and I think they could easily be the number 2 team in this division.
Mark?
The one team we didn't talk about actually in that round of this conference this division is really the Jets. I think they're a very talented team. Now, they're kind of like some of the other teams we mentioned where they really haven't done anything in the playoffs, but I think they're going to be a regular season powerhouse. So you look at their team and they've got 2 good lines. They've got depth throughout the lineup. I think they probably, in my rankings, I'd probably put them in second right behind the Avs. And then I think it's really between Stars, Blackhawks, and Wild in which order they come in for making the playoffs from that division.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah, it's good that you mentioned the Jets, because I think, like, even if you go back to the playoffs, I mean, Connor Hellebuyck did everything but score goals. And it's hard to bet against a team with Connor Hellebuyck in that, especially in the Olympic year, too.
And the big part of it, too, I mean, this was a team that took down Connor McDavid and the Oilers very easily. They ran into a rough spot once they got into the second round, but this team looked promising, and just them gelling a little bit more with, Dubois in that. Don't forget, Rocket, this is for you, Dilly in the peg as well, maybe helping shore up the defense as well with the Jets. I mean, that could be something there. And like they're saying in the chat, Hellebuyck doesn't hella suck at times.
No.
No.
But
I think the Jets, that's kind of why I had them in the second spot too. I think they had a really good off season. Quietly, I think they had a really good off season. And again, it's a defense first team. Paul Maurice knows how to extract the most out of his teams. And he's gotten even more weapons now. So,
yeah,
I think that Winnipeg is going to be the real deal. And I think that they're going to kind of, to me, Winnipeg is New York Islanders West. That's how
interesting.
I like it. Apparently, you guys know how much I love Minnie and Winnie, apparently. So, but I would, Winnipeg would be a great story to see. Minnesota, is it going to just be Kirill the Thrill show? We'll see about that.
What they're paying him, it better be.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
No kidding. A lot of pressure on him.
I kind of see them kind of like Edmonton, right? Where they have superstar type player that can, transcend the game at times, and then everybody else. And I think that that's kind of what Minnesota's mold is. They don't have a Leon Draisaitl, but it's a team that has got a premier player, and a team that I think could ride that premier player to a playoff spot.
It's just unfortunate because I think the Edmonton comparison's apt, because if you look at this team, like, not only is the supporting cast kind of meh, but you have how much money in dead cap for the next couple of years?
Yeah.
Just obscene amounts of dead cap. Like,
Those
it's not good.
buyouts, yeah.
Normally we wouldn't be taking any comments because we're just trying to roll through this a little bit, but Grayson Hendricks with a $4.99 super chat donation. I gotta put it right here to give it a full shout out there. Appreciate it, much appreciative, buddy. Thank you very much. Of course, the super chat, when you donate to us, it helps us, support the show.
Keep the lights on.
Yeah, keeps the lights on, keeps the bills going and everything. Upgrades whenever we can. That'd be fun.
Pays
So,
for my
thank you.
caffeine addiction.
Are you a PSL guy, or are we going cold brew? What are you thinking, Landy?
No, cappuccino all the way.
Yeah, okay.
Old school Italian.
Nice.
Old school Italian.
Nice. All right, so let's get to the Pacific before we get into Team Teal here. We did talk about the Kraken a little bit, and we did talk about Vegas. Of course, the pressure is kind of on for the Kraken to kind of produce what the Golden Knights did.
I don't think so. I
Really?
disagree. Yeah, I disagree. I think, look at when the way that the Kraken built their roster, if they wanted to come out of the bank like Vegas, they could have taken their approach incredibly differently given the guys that were available to them in the expansion draft. This is a team that I think they want to be competitive for sure. But this isn't a team that's built for today. This is a team building for tomorrow. This is the approach that they're taking isn't one for immediate success. This is a team. I think that's not building for today, but they're building a good foundation right now.
I think the media is kind of overplaying this a little bit with the comparison.
It's an easy narrative, right? Like it's, oh, well, Vegas did this. Can Seattle do that? No one's going to replicate what Vegas did. Like, it's hard. You can't catch lightning in a bottle twice. And I think what Vegas did was they caught lightning in a bottle and it worked for them, right? I think expecting Seattle to do that based on the moves they've done so far, I just think it's unrealistic. And I think if that's your expectation, you're setting yourself up for disappointment.
Mark, what says you? They're building in the right direction, but considering how weak this division is, do they have a shot at making the playoffs?
I think they have a shot. And that's the thing. I think actually everyone in this division, except for the Ducks, but everyone I think has a shot technically. And it's more a matter of which teams drop themselves out of the playoffs than which teams kind of get themselves in. But I actually don't have the Kraken making the playoffs. I think Ian kind of got it right. They didn't have kind of the GM panic that Vegas was able to take advantage of. I think their team looks good enough where it wouldn't shock me if they made the playoffs. But with my predictions, I don't have them in. I think they'll probably come in fourth, maybe fifth place in the division.
All right. Landy, we can talk about Seattle, about being a newbie and can make a run at it. Obviously, Vegas is kind of the front runner in this. But like we said earlier, this doesn't feel as dominant of a team in Las Vegas. But is Edmonton the only team that can kind of throw them off the porch a little bit?
I mean, the way that I kind of have it stacked up, right, is Vegas is going to have their way with the division. I think, they're going to be a team that is going to find it, and then I think that their depth is going to really still win out. And I don't think that there's a team that has quite the depth that they do in this division. And so, Edmonton has definitely, I think Edmonton's stars are definitely brighter than Vegas. That's for sure. And I think, Edmonton can make a really big dent with that top end talent, but it takes just a little bit more than that to win a division. So I kind of see it being Vegas number one. I kind of see it being Edmonton number two. And then, echoing what everybody else said, a real fight for number three. And I don't think that, I think Calgary has had too much turmoil. I think that they're going to be kind of on the, kind of in that holding pattern similar to where the Sharks are at. I think Vancouver has the pieces to take the next step, but it's going to be up to them whether or not they're going to go for it. And I know that, the COVID situation really, really did a number on them last year. So this could be the time that we could finally see Vancouver, get through a little bit more and show us a little bit more. The Kings suffering the injuries that they have, I think that's put a little bit of a damper on, them being in that 3 hole, but they still have good pieces around them, and I wouldn't never count them out. So, yeah, I mean, you could have potentially 1, 2, 3, 4 teams fighting for one spot. I don't think it's fair to have Seattle be immediately counted out. But I don't think that they have as much talent as the Kings do, and I don't think that they have as much talent as the Sharks do. But then again, we kind of all counted out Vegas, and look at what happened there. But I don't think Seattle's roster composition looks nearly what Vegas had in its first year.
The Pacific to me is weird because it's a division where outside of Vegas, I look at them and I'm like, yeah, there's a bunch of teams that could be playoff teams, but I don't like outside of Vegas, which one's going to actually do something when they get there. And I didn't even include the Oilers in that category, which is unfortunate because, this is a team that has the best player in the world, in my opinion.
Yep.
And that's the thing about the Pacific. That's what makes it so weak. Like, yeah, you could, I think it's probably Vancouver, Vegas. I think it's probably Edmonton, and then it's jump ball. Yeah. But none of those teams scare me once they get into the playoffs. Like, I look at like Vancouver's. I'm not high on Vancouver, but I think they're better than Calgary, which I think is going to hug the bottom of the division with the Ducks. LA is going to be interesting. LA is a team that, kind of like where Ottawa is this year. It's like you can only accumulate assets for so long before you actually have to start doing something with those assets. LA's in the early stages of that. So it's going to be interesting to see what LA does, but they've been dealt a blow early, losing Quentin Byfield, which I think is going to be a big blow to their playoff aspirations, depending on how long he's out. Now, they do have, this team is loaded with center prospects, so it's going to be interesting to see who ends up in that spot that Byfield was going to be in. But it's a whole lot of meh, and that includes the Sharks.
Yeah.
Mark, so there's Edmonton. To me, I kind of feel like Edmonton with McDavid and Draisaitl, this is kind of like a Toronto of sorts. Yes, they do have a series victory in their last 15 years, and unfortunately, 2 of those 3 come at the hands of the San Jose Sharks. Damn you, Rolison.
Sharks team that was held together with duct tape and popsicle sticks, but okay.
I'm just stating facts, but that's a good point, Ian. But Mark, again, this is a team where
I like popsicles.
Me too.
I like the Crunch Bar ones, but I digress. Moving onward, we'll get to those fun questions in a little bit, guys.
Okay.
But Mark, Edmonton.
No faith in them. I have them as a playoff team, but I don't have faith in them doing anything. Like Ian said, I think if they were in the Central, they possibly wouldn't make the playoffs, and they definitely wouldn't make the playoffs in any of the Eastern divisions. The Pacific gives them that opportunity. So I do actually have them coming in second place behind Vegas, but I don't know. The team's too top heavy. You look at who they're paying their cap to, it's the right guys, but then you look at the rest of their lineup and nothing sticks out. I'm just not impressed by them. So I think they'll most likely have a first round exit unless they end up, well, actually, if they finish second, they would probably then play
they play the number 3
third
seed.
place team from the Pacific. Yeah. So they might actually win a playoff series, but I just don't think they're really a worthy team.
Yeah, I think I'm with you all guys. Vegas number 1, Edmonton number 2, and then it's a crapshoot for that number 3 spot. Could it be Calgary? I'm just not sold on them.
I don't think Calgary is going to be good at all. Like I don't even have Calgary is going to be tugging the bottom of the division with the Ducks, in my opinion, and they're going to blow it up.
Yeah,
I mean, I think Mark Giordano leaving, I think that's going to be a really big hole for them, and honestly, I don't see it with all the turmoil that they've had in the last 2 seasons. I see this team set up for failure right now.
Yeah, and there's Vancouver. I mean, you have Demko in net along with Jaro Halak.
I like that pickup for them.
Yeah.
Like that was a really solid move for them. I just don't know about the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, Pettersson and Quinn Hughes are signed now. You have, Brock Besser hopefully coming off of it. I mean, their time is now, I think, to start doing things like Ian, like you said, with LA. I think their time to get things moving. I think it's their time to try to take
LA's in a great
3.
spot. Like LA's in the perfect spot because all they have to do is just be better than last year. If they make the playoffs, it's house money. They don't have to do anything when they get there. And if they just miss, it's another lottery pick. It's they're in the perfect spot because the expectations aren't through the roof. As long as they're better than last year, they win. It's a great place to be if you're LA, because I don't think the expectation, they're not, no one's confusing the Los Angeles Kings with the Vegas Golden Knights. So I mean, for them, it's great. You go, even if you get to the playoffs and you get swept, it's not a big deal. You made the playoffs. You're better than last year, and you're going to continue. That's another year for all those guys that you have coming up.
Yeah, I mean, LA is going to be, I think, the team that gets into number 3, in my opinion. Vancouver will give them a run. But I'm just not sold on the rest of the division and whoever gets number 3. I mean, they could be a shocking upset, like Mark was saying. They may not get past the first round, but if Edmonton doesn't get past the first round, you have to wonder what they're doing.
Well, Ken Holland's the worst GM of the cap era, in my opinion, but that's part of the problem.
So I mean, Puck Guy, I mean, it sounds like none of us took the Sharks to sniff, and normally you're the most optimistic one out of all of us. And
I didn't give my opinion on the third place team.
Oh, Mark,
Yeah,
go right
all
ahead.
Sharks
We can
make
make
the
a nice
playoffs as
transition.
the third place team. Yes. I don't know. I just have good vibes coming from them. And I just am feeling a little bit of hope that the older guys are going to have not a star season, but some sort of bounce back season, and they're going to take advantage of this division with better goaltending and some development, some young guys filling in, and I actually think they have a shot at that third spot.
Landy,
I want to add something to that quick.
Go ahead.
The guys, the one thing that you don't want to take out of consideration, I've said this a couple times already, the show, it's an Olympic year. Sharks have got a lot of guys that have been on those teams previously that are probably not even in consideration this year, and that's going to burn them inside. And I think you're going to see some of those guys, nothing motivates players like the Olympics. We've seen guys have resurgent season in Olympic years. I think Mark might be onto something. I'm not as high on the Sharks this year as he is, but I think I I'm with them. I think you're gonna see some turnaround from some guys that we may have written off.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it's going to be all about, what Kevin LeBanc and Timo Meyer are going to say about the subject. Those two players are to me the biggest X factors and the biggest swing on the team. If they can reclaim, any semblance of what they have had before. I think that I've got some hope, and I'm hopeful that Eklund and Dahlin are going to have some good showings, but that's a lot to ask for from a lot of young players in key positions. So that's all I'm concerned about. But I do see a path for the Sharks. I don't think it's as dire as it is as, say, like Montreal, for instance. I think that there is a pathway for them, but it's going to be extremely difficult.
All right. Let me say this. By the way, Landy, great job on the segue. I appreciate that. Amazing to get to Mark with his Sharks. And I couldn't get to my sound effect, but can they get to number 4? Yes. Will it be a wild card? I'm not sure. I think it depends on how this team gels. We saw how they were during that 6-game winning streak, and yes, those were against Anaheim and LA's of the like last year. And granted, they finished up with like 3 wins in their last 15, 18 games down the stretch and just fell apart. They got decent players to make it happen. I mean, let's not make a mistake here. Logan Couture is still the captain of this team. Timo Meyer, you need to show up. You need to show up big time here.
Here's the thing with Timo Meyer. Timo Meyer is not the guy who drives the play. He's the guy that is the recipient of the driven play. And for a lot of time last season, he was chained to a shell of Logan Couture. I think as long as Logan can stay healthy, I think Timo's going to have a bounce back season over an 82-game season. Like I can't say that enough. And and even though Timo Meyer didn't have a great season, it wasn't awful. Like if you look at the point total he put up last year, it wasn't terrible. He was just behind Couture. Like people make it sound like Timo Meyer had just goose eggs across his stat sheet. It's not the case.
Well, is that partly of that? I don't want to say Erik Carlson syndrome, where you get the big deal and you're expected to do a lot of big things.
Timo Meyer needs to take a step forward for sure. Right. But I just think that if you look at the type of player that Timo Meyer is, I think that given his situation, I still think he performed. Again, I'm not saying gold star, best season he's ever had, but I don't think it's as awful as everyone's making it out to be. Bronze star.
Bronze star. Mark, what do you say? Who's the guy that needs to step up for this team this year?
I think it's a collaborative group of goaltending. Reimer and Hill need to be good. I think we haven't seen good goaltending since even before the year we went to the conference final. That year we went there in spite of Jones.
Yeah,
let's be real. So I think it's going to be weird for Sharks fans watching games. And if he just looked good to me in the preseason. And I'm not even saying that because it was his numbers. I was just watching him. I was watching his movements. I was watching his vision. I was watching his puck tracking. And he just looked like a good goaltender. So I think the team will play different in front of him if he gives them that confidence. Everything starts from there out. And I think if the goaltending can step up and give them even league average goaltending, I'm not even talking top 10, league average goaltending, you will see a significantly better team from last year. And then from that point, it's really a matter of, do the new guys in the lineup fit in well? Does the team gel? And obviously, can they stay healthy? A guy like Hertl, he's basically a superstar when he's healthy. He is elite on the ice, offense, defensively, everything. But can he stay healthy? He has issues with health. Mm-hmm. Can Timo Meyer serve as that awesome complementary piece, whichever line he ends up in halfway through the season? I think they've got the center depth now. You look at Bonino as the third line center. That helps a lot. I'm curious as to how Weatherby will do. I actually have increasing faith in his abilities.
Yeah.
And then the last piece that I would mention is Dahlin. Is he an NHL player in the top 6? Is he middle 6? I mean, where does he fit in? So it's going to be, there's a lot of questions there. I'm definitely putting a little bit too much, maybe Sharks fan faith in everything going
Cautiously
well.
optimistic. Cautiously optimistic.
It could go off a ledge real quick. Let's be real.
Oh, yeah.
But I think all those pieces together could make us a playoff team.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I think I saw some good signs, right, from the veterans. Marc-Edouard Vlasic coming back to camp, earlier than he ever has in his career, and really focusing in on the physical attributes and the physical side of his game, which, quite frankly, had not been there in the last 2 seasons. Logan Couture able to finally, get a full summer's worth of regular exercise and routine and not have to, rehab, as hard. He basically was rehabbing the whole season and never felt like he got his season off to a completely healthy, start. So yeah, I think having a resurgent Logan Couture will help. We'll see where Hurdle is at. The whole thing with the contract, he could turn in one of those point per game seasons again. Just because, he is trying to get back into the fold. And I really do think that he wants to stay in San Jose, but I think it's going to have a lot to do with the supporting cast and where exactly they're at. Can a guy like Erik Carlson come back and really drive the bus now that, some of the locker room distractions are gone? Is Erik Carlson more of the problem than the Evander Kane situation was? Well, I mean, we'll see how the results bear out on ice. But I can see why there is some optimism, and I think I share some of it. But I'm also very cognizant of the points in which the young players are put into. They're definitely in the sink or swim kind of areas, right? They're either going to really adapt well, or it's going to be very evident very quickly that they're going to be, outmatched.
Yeah, I think, I mean, there's been so many good points here, and I'm going to kind of touch on a couple of them. Like, I'm cautiously optimistic because of some of the guys that took a step in camp, right? Like, even the guys that didn't make the team, like, there's some guys that look really good, that look like they might be able to come up and step in if someone goes down and be the next man up. Guys like Adam Raska, I thought looked really good in camp, and I think he's gonna get a chance to play big minutes on the Barracuda this year. So a guy like Weatherby, who I didn't really any thought of in camp being a Shark this season before camp, and he's come in and Gambrell's on the Barracuda right now. So I like that aspect of it, and I'm optimistic there. I do have concerns with the goaltending. When we entered the season, I looked at, when we into the offseason, when we picked up Adin Hill, I'm like, okay, well, that's a good 1B goalie. What's the 1A, right? And then they got James Reimer. Now, I like James Reimer, but to me, that's 2 1B goalies. Now, from what I've seen of Adin Hill in camp, which is arguably little because we live in, it's 2021 and we don't know how to stream games, but I digress.
Bravo, Ian, bravo.
For a team that is in Silicon Valley, by the way.
But what I seen of Adin Hill, I echo Mark. Like, I really like what I saw. I like the way he moves around the crease. I like the way he seems to see the play. There's a lot of things that I really like about what I've seen from Adin Hill so far. But so I'm cautiously optimistic in goal, and I agree, because I've said this a billion times. If the Sharks could just get league average goaltending, what would they be? We're gonna find out this year, I hope.
Because AJ, I think TJ Galliardi was the player that you're looking for.
Oh man! All right.
So yeah, I don't know.
All right. Now, let me ask you this. I was going to mention this in the next segment, but, what is more the key stat to look for this season? Is it power play percentage improvement? Is it goals against average 15 goals against average improvement, or face-off percentage?
All of the above.
It's got to start in goal. No, it's got to start in goal. The answer is in goal. It has to start in goal. Mark hit it right on the head. It's got to start from there and work its way out. Because if this does turn out to be a tandem of 1B goalies, it's not going to be much better than last year.
And I would say the stat should actually be save percentage, because we haven't had a goalie with a 90% or above at the end of the season, I think, since 2018. It's ridiculous, the low levels of goaltending. I think it's like Martin Jones was 895, 898 one season. It's just, oh my God. Terrible numbers.
So AJ points out high danger chances allowed. And I don't think that's the best. For me, I think it's high danger chances saved. Yeah, I want to see that save percentage in high danger chances, because Martin Jones was notoriously bad for giving those up, right? So even if the new goaltending tandem can put in average, I mean just league average goaltending on high danger chances, I think the team is going to be in a lot better place, and I think that will translate over to the goals against average, and of course the save percentage as well. But it's not like it's not a two-sided problem here, right? It's kind of,
the defense shouldn't get a pass. Like, I'm not saying the defense should get a pass, but like Martin Jones was objectively terrible. Like there was shots after shot that he should have saved that went in the back of the net, and it didn't matter where the defense were. They're just shots that should have been saved, and they weren't repeatedly.
Yeah, like the 15-20 footer that squeaks through the wickets, right? I mean, we
blows past his glove or whatever.
Glove side, yeah, exactly. And so so maybe it's not even save percentage and high danger chances if they get average there, but it's just like save percentage on low danger chances.
Now, the reason why I put the other two in is because the power play was rough last year, to say the least. And then face-offs, how many times, guys, last year did we see how many times they lost a face-off, especially in their defensive zone, and the opposing team made a quick shot and it got through?
That's because Martin Jones was in net.
Yeah.
Good point. Good point.
I think face-offs. I think face-off. There's a little more emphasis that are put into face-offs than there should be. I think they're important. Don't get me wrong, but it's what you do after the face-off that matters, right? Like losing a face-off, not good. But if you're a good transition team, then you can still turn that to your advantage. We've seen good teams they lose a face-off, but then they immediately take possession of the puck.
Yeah.
So I think
was gonna say
I think face-off is a little more like face-off's a little too like I think they're emphasized too much. I think it's what you do after the face-off that matters. That's my opinion.
Yeah. No, I agree there. And I think that really the defense and how in which they're going to activate and how in which they're going to protect in front of the crease is also going to be very important to how these goaltenders are going to fare. And I mean, Alex Martinet brings it up. I mean, EK, as soon as EK arrived, save percentage went down. And I happen to think that those kinds of things do bear out, and we kind of did see it on the ice, and we saw Erik Carlson victimized. And again, it's partly because he wasn't. I don't think he has been at peak physical performance. I think his foot speed is definitely not there. It hasn't been there in the last two seasons, and again, paired that with immobile Marc-Edouard Vlasic and a walking corpse of Radim Šimić, and you have the makings of a beautiful decor right there. So, I think anything's going to be better than what it was. How much better is going to all be up to those players and what exactly they're going to bring to the table. I think Vlasic has a big question mark. I mean, he was a guy that we were all talking about. Could he be bought out? Could he be along with Martin Jones to be bought out? And this is a guy that, has always had pride in his game. He's always been a player who, would work on his game. But the last couple of off seasons with, personal turmoil and COVID and all of that, it seems like he's gotten away from, what made him a very, very good athlete.
It's funny because when Vlasic signed his extension, I thought that would I honestly thought Vlasic's extension was going to age better than the rest of them just because of the style of game that Vlasic plays. Stick first. He's not overly physical. Like I thought that Brent Burns' game would fall off before Vlasic's just based on because Vlasic's game isn't overly grueling, right? Like he's a good shutdown defender, but he wasn't over. It wasn't because he was taking guys' heads off or anything else. Like he's no Scott Stevens. And it's crazy how that game is falling off.
Yeah.
All right, let's have some fun, gang. All right, I'm gonna throw some questions at you and just have a semi briefish answer. What's going on?
Have you met me?
True, I know we all can go on.
If you want brief answers, I think this is the wrong panel.
Well, good night, everyone. All right. Well, we'll start with this. We'll start with this question. Kind of a match game. Hertl is a member of the blank on March 21st.
Oh, that hurts my heart. I don't think he's a Shark. That hurts my heart to say. Yell at me on Twitter.
I think he's a Shark. I think they'll sign him long term. Yeah, I think he's a Shark.
Same. No, so no.
All right, I'm the bad guy. Good, I like it.
You are the angry Canadian robot. All right.
I'm less confident in this team being a playoff team, and I think if you're not a playoff team, there's a big return to be had there. Because I think if you're not a playoff team, if you're not a playoff team in this division this year, then I think things are worse than if you're not in the conversation at least, then I think things are worse than they may appear now.
Gotcha.
So maybe you have
but
to
they
start
still
turning
have
down.
to sell tickets though. That's the problem.
And he's
That's
not old.
problem.
Like he's
No, I know.
It's all a matter of what money he wants. If he wants $9 million, then he's gone. But
Well,
if he can
look
settle
at-
for 7.5, 8, then I
Like
think
if you
he
look
can
at
stay.
Zibanejad's deal, do you not think that Hertl can go and say, yeah, that's what I want?
Yeah,
Not with the
he's
production from
definitely in
last
that
year.
range,
Yeah.
But I think he's actually even a better player than Zibanejad personally.
So do I,
But,
and that's my point. I
Yeah.
think he can ask for north of that. And
Yeah.
Well, see,
Yeah.
what I think what's probably playing out here is his last year's stats. They might be negotiating off of that, right? And those stats weren't as great, and maybe his agent feels that he is in that Mika Zibanejad conversation.
It's better.
Which, and I agree. When Hertl is healthy and when he is on, he is a better player than Mika Zibanejad.
And he's been healthy for I think the injury problems for Hertl are overstated. He's been healthy for quite a few seasons in a row now.
Yeah, but last year was an aberration, and I think I was saying this a little bit earlier in a different podcast, but just that it's kind of a show me season from both perspectives. Show me from the Sharks season, as in, okay, show me that you're gonna get back to the pace that you were at. And then for Hertl, it's like, okay, show me, Sharks, that you're either invested in me or invested in winning. One of those two things.
All right. Next question. And for my friend Matt Sakaris and Blake Price up in Vancouver, kind of stealing your bit here, but guys, tell me I'm wrong. Joe Thornton is in the Stanley Cup Final.
Nope.
You're wrong.
No, you're wrong.
No.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I would love to see it. I'm really high on Florida this year, but I'm not that high on Florida.
Yeah, same.
I mean, who are they going to play in? I mean, if they play in an Eastern Conference Final and let's say it's the New York Islanders, I mean, do you take Florida over the New York Islanders? I wouldn't. Hell, even coming out of the first round, if it's like Carolina and Florida, would you take Florida over Carolina?
Yeah.
I don't know.
I would, but I mean, that's based on what? Nothing. The season hasn't started yet, so.
All righty. Moving onward to Connor McDavid goes for more than 150 points. He got to over 156 games. I was gonna say 200, but I think that was that's a little bit of a stretch.
I think 150 is doable for him for sure.
Doable for sure. I think it's right around where I'd cut him off. I think in that 140 to 150 range. So topping 150, it could happen. A lot needs to go right.
Yeah, I'm going to take the under on that one too. I think 135, I think is kind of the number that I look at it and being like, okay, you know what? This is where he's going to kind of come in at.
The competition, like, you got to remember, like, yeah, he did have, like, you know, that the points that he did, but half of that division was garbage. And you played most of your game. You played all your games in your division, right? You're going to go around the league this year. You're going to have to play all the teams. You're not going to get 400 games against the Ottawa Senators. Just saying.
They are a team. All right. Next one. San Ramon native Austin Matthews scores blank.
50.
50. Yeah, I'll take the over on 50.
I'm going 65.
Whoa!
Oh,
Spicy.
I was actually thinking 60, but that's a good one there. I think Matthews has the touch. Granted, he's not playing with an injury right now, but we'll see how it goes. I kind of think he's gonna wanting to step up that game, and I would love for him to get a Ruthers.
Olympic year, man. I mean, I think he has to play really well to make his team. Like, he's going to be on that team, but still,
52 goals is where I have him, I think.
All right. And speaking of the Toronto Maple Leafs, they get to the conference final.
Negative.
Ooh.
Nope.
No,
That's a no for me.
They got to win a round before I can put them anywhere. Like, show me.
Because I think getting rid of Tyson Barrie and then replacing him, and I like what they've done with the defense core a little bit more than previous seasons. I could see them getting past the first round. Do I call them all the way to the conference final, though?
With Jack Campbell as their goalie, not a chance.
No, I don't think so either. I don't think so either. I think they're going to come up. I think they'll come up short in the second round, but I think they will get past the first.
All right. A fun one, as many of you know, we're all Jersey nuts over here. So the Sharks will break out new jerseys next season. And by new, I would say, if they went to Heritage permanently with the home and away.
We're saying this coming season or
next season?
Next season,
22-23.
I mean, it would be the smart thing to do, but I just don't think they'll do it.
31. It would be what? 32nd anniversary or 31st
32.
Anniversary? 32.
I mean, we've seen so many people say, just go back to the original logo, go back to the original style. You hit it out of the park the first time.
I still think put the new logo on the old sweater, and that would be mwah.
New logo, old sweater.
Yeah, you take the teal, black, and gray with the new logo, chef's kiss.
But the orange eye, though, I think that you have to change that. You maybe if you swap that out into a white eye, then okay, that would be good. But yeah, I think the money is strong with with this move, with the Sharks, and the Sharks jerseys always sell well because of color. So I think that we will see a new jersey, and it will probably be some
black. Who are we kidding?
Yeah, I mean we're already seeing talk about reverse retro 2.0, but I'm talking like a permanent home and away.
Oh, you just revamp the lineup, the home and lineup.
I'm adding it on.
A la Kachina or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
I mean, for this season, the home teal, the home white, and the stealth returns this season. So nothing's going away this year. But next season, I just have a sneaking feeling. And I don't know if you guys saw anything today on the Sharks Twitter. They broke out the original chomp font onto the helmets today at practice, which was kind of interesting. Haven't seen that since that miracle run in '94.
I want to be more.
Been that long, hasn't it?
With the chomp font, yeah.
I would be more apt to say that a full-time third jersey in the retro style is going to be what they would announce.
Gotcha.
You know, I don't think that they would remand home away. I don't think they would do that. Arizona. What could be the do is bring a full-time short third, kind of like the stat, but not. Duck is basically like a rework on original and not the original as their jerseys. I could see something like that being what they would introduce, not necessarily.
If I'm getting you, because you were kind of breaking up a little bit there, that you kind of expect them to have like a different type of a third jersey, not exactly the heritage style, but kind of like what the Ducks did with their orange jerseys. Yeah. Okay. All right. And speaking of jerseys, because I love talking jerseys, pick 'em. Would you rather have more jerseys or a sponsor patch on the jersey? What would bring more? Whatever we were talking about, hockey related revenue.
I don't like the sweater ads at all.
Yeah.
But I understand them, and when I saw the preview of the Capitals one, like to me that looks like it's gonna be something like the helmet ads, where at first I was like, yeah, that sucks, and then by the end of the season I didn't even notice them. But I also remember a time when we kept our ads on the dashers and not actually on the ice, so I understand the slippery slope argument. I think the money, like they could release 4 jerseys a year, and I don't think that would equal the money that they're going to get from these sponsorship deals. Unfortunately, I mean that's the cold reality of it. It's a team that's in desperate need of some revenue streams to help balance this thing out. I mean, escrow is super high again this year.
What is it? 17%?
17%. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think that, like, would people buy more sweaters if you put more sweaters out? For sure. Of course they would. Is that going to equal the money that they're probably going to get from these sponsorship deals? Probably not. I doubt it.
Mark, would you be okay having like kind of like the NBA, where they usually have like 4 or 5 different jerseys at their dispense?
I'd probably buy them all. So yeah, I will literally buy almost any jersey the Sharks put out there. That being said, it depends on the patch. I hate the idea of it. I look at some of those European teams. I don't think they'll ever get that bad.
No, me either.
I can't see
but
it
the
either.
European hockey jerseys are just brutal to look at. So yeah, I would stray from that. I'm fine with the helmet ads. I barely even notice them. A small little patch on the back of a jersey, like in the bottom corner, maybe I wouldn't notice. Like if you're picturing like the old CCM badge on the bottom, that kind of thing. But if it's turned into like a big label or some big patch or multiple patches, I'd have a pretty big problem with that. But then again, I want the league to succeed. So if they need that for the money, then so be it.
Yeah, like AJ in the chat saying, remember a couple years ago when Bettman said you have to drink him kicking, screaming. I think at that time it was true, because that was before COVID, but shut down the league for a year and a half and kept people out of arenas, and and hurt their streams with their financial streams with their broadcast partners and everything else. So
money's a hell of a drug.
Yeah, it's a hell of a drug. I just think it's an unfortunate. something they unfortunately have to do because of all of this.
Right.
Yeah.
Landy, glad to have you back. Glad you got my AOL disc in the mail. I'm kidding.
Yeah. Now I'm the one getting it right. No, I think it was. I had way too many tabs open in Chrome.
Oh gosh, I know that all too well. All right, second and last one here. The Stanley Cup Final. I'm not asking you for a cup predictor. I'm asking who are the two teams. One from the West, one from the East. Who are going to be putting on some patches come June?
I will say Islanders. I'm fairly confident in the Islanders. The West gets tough for me. I want to say the Avalanche. I want to say they finally break through with that talent. I'll go with Islanders, Avalanche in the final.
All right. Landy, coming to you, bud.
Yeah, that's a good pick. I think he's got my pick there. Let's go. Okay, I'll do the hipster pick. Let's do Carolina versus. I don't know, man. There's just something saying Winnipeg.
Spicy.
I think that I don't know what it is about that team, but they seem to rise to the occasion, and it just seems like, again, they're Islanders West. I could see it being Hurricanes. I could see it being a systems final, basically, right down to two systems teams.
Ian?
Okay, so I'm going to go off the board here. I'm going to say my Western Conference team is going to be the Dallas Stars.
Ooh.
And they are going to play... Oh, I hate the East so much. I hate the East.
It's such a crapshoot, isn't it, guys?
It is. Yeah, it really is. I you know what? I'm going to say, because I said they could do it, I'm going to say Tampa Bay. Because, again, they can coast through the season and they know when to turn it on.
So a repeat of the bubble final. Nice.
Yeah.
Bubble final. I will go and say Colorado versus Toronto.
That would be a very fun final.
Yeah.
I mean, that would be one that you would want to watch, just with all the star power.
Absolutely. You have Rantanen, Landeskog, McKinnon on one end, and you have Tavares, Marner, San Ramon native Austin Matthews. I think that would be a good one. So and like
Stars versus
Panthers. Absolutely, AJ. That would be Doug Wilson's worst cup nightmare. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now the question is,
that would be Winnipeg, Florida.
We just need to figure out which team will pick up Patrick Marleau. That's the thing. All right.
Here's my hot take. He's not going to be picked up this year.
Oh,
I don't think he's. I don't think he'll see any time on the ice this year.
All right, guys. I'll ask you. I'll ask you two. Is Patty? I don't want to say done because he's done so much. Is Patty gonna sign? And if so, does he go anywhere? I mean, I honestly can't see him in San Jose.
No, go ahead, Mark.
No, I was gonna say I just don't know who would pick him up. It hasn't worked for him. I would say from a production standpoint. I mean, the main reason he was in the NHL last year was to get that record. So I don't know. I don't see him playing another game. I wish he would get more games, but it just doesn't seem like it's going to happen. I'm trying to think of a playoff team that would sign him, and I just don't know where he would fit in.
Well, I mean, I'm thinking, let's play your scenario here, Mark. At the deadline, they pick him up. He does
No.
he does the full Justin Williams thing here. I mean, I don't know. Wishful thinking here. All right.
I don't think here's the problem with Marleau, right? Like Marleau at this point in his career, he's not good enough to be in your top 9. And he's no matter what team he goes to, I can't think of a team where he would go where he's not blocking a player that should be playing.
Yep.
At this point in his career. And I think I love Patrick Marleau, but I mean, all good things, man. All good things. And I think Patrick Marleau had a hell of a career, but unfortunately, this is whether he knows it or not yet, it's done, in my opinion.
Gotcha.
Yeah, it's hard to believe that it was Jumbo that outlasted Patty, right? But I think that's how it's going to go down.
Gotcha.
That's actually what I was thinking about recently too, because remember last season, I feel like every broadcast, Randy Hahn was saying this record will probably never be broken about Marleau's games played.
Mm-hmm.
Thornton actually is less than 100 games or something like that behind him. And if Thornton plays 2 seasons, he gets in like 50 games, suddenly that record is gone.
Yeah, I don't even, but I as much as I love Jumbo, I don't see that either.
I think this is going to be Jumbo's Teemu year. You know how the last year of Teemu Solani, he was not playing, every day. He was, taking back-to-backs off. He was taking long stretches off. I think that's probably how Jumbo's going to be honest with you.
Yep.
I don't see them getting maybe 50, 60 games out of him.
We'll see. Load management for the playoffs. Who knows? So
that's what I think.
Yeah.
Load management.
Last one, and I kind of changed this up a little bit. Your one or more bold prediction, and it doesn't have to be your cup winner. Doesn't have to be anything in particular that we kind of talked about. But what do you guys think can potentially happen? Should
I'll
I
go first.
Okay, go ahead.
So here, I don't know if it's a bold prediction. I don't think they're going to do much when they get to the playoffs. Like I don't know what they'll do, but I think the Panthers can win the Atlantic.
All right.
I would put money there. And I don't think Evander Kane touches the ice before the All-Star break.
Fair enough. All right. Mark, I'll come to you.
I feel like I already made a few bold predictions with the Sharks making the playoffs, and Matthew scored 65. But it's tough to say bold prediction. How about this? Aiden Hill will get votes for the Vezina Trophy.
Ooh.
Love it.
Ooh.
Love it.
I would love that.
Can't be more bold than that.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right. Then I guess I'm gonna have to bring the hot ones, right?
Your turn, Landy.
All right. William Eklund's gonna win the Calder.
Oh,
Yes.
And
let's go.
And we're gonna see. We saw Evander Kane's last game as a Shark last season.
All right.
I like it.
I like it too. I'm kind of with you guys on that one. We didn't really touch on the Evander Kane thing, and honestly, I couldn't give it.
It's a fun show.
It's a fun show. We're having some fun. After all, Tomas Hertl.
Cry on air.
Yeah, exactly. Tomas Hertl, fun must be always. I'll say this. I'll have 3 for you. One, I already told you guys. I think Ovechkin surpasses Yager this season. I say Hertl gets his contract done before the deadline. And I say the Sharks miss the playoffs by 1 point. As a
worst case scenario.
As the number 4 team in the Pacific, meaning 5 teams will come out of the Central.
Oh, that's like right in the guts, like the worst case scenario for the season. How dare you put that evil in the air?
Now, here's what I'm.
Yeah. We either got to be really.
We got to be really bad or really good. There's none of this. Miss the playoffs by 1 point, be the last team in the lottery. Puck guys.
Guys, it's reverse psychology going on here. Come on.
Okay.
Reverse psychology I've got going on here. Either they're gonna really suck, or we're doing After Darks till June. Okay.
Oh, I do have one question though, and maybe you guys, we can leave it with this. Ryan Merkley, does he sniff the roster on an injury call up this year?
Yes. Yeah, I think
Yes.
if
He gets
there's
games.
a chance for them to bring Merkley up, I think he definitely gets a look on the team, but it's probably going to have to be an injury. I think I can understand if people are disappointed that Merkley, because I thought Merkley had a really good camp, so I can understand if people are disappointed he's not on the team, but I still think that it is better to have him on the Barracuda playing in all situations, big minutes, than it is for him up here getting Bob Bugner's 7-minute special.
Yeah, that's. Oh,
Alrighty, guys.
Not Peter DeBoer, my ass.
Never forget the Yoakum Ryan 3-minute 45-second special. All right. They are at Erik Landi, Erik, spelled the right way, Landi. Ian Blogs Hockey, and Mark SJS. I'm stealing your bit, AJ. Forgive me. Famous last words. I will start with you, Mark.
His last words. It's exciting. Let's go Sharks. I'm curious to see what happens with Eichel.
Yeah.
Good call. Yeah. Ian?
Am I dying?
I hope not.
Do you know something that I don't? Okay.
I'm just saying last words for this show.
For the show.
For
Okay.
this show.
Gosh, I don't have any. Follow me on Twitter. I'll talk about hockey. It'll be fun.
Landy?
You know what? I think a Jack Eichel would be very, very good looking in this particular shade of green or blue, depending on what hue you want to call this color.
All right. As for me, no famous last words per se. It's great to be back with you all. Sharks fans, I can't wait to get to the tank on Saturday to see you all, or maybe not all. So hit that subscribe button down below. Follow us on the social media and everything. In case you missed anything or you want to watch this again, check us out on teal10usa.com or your favorite podcatcher, and you see all of them there. But of course, hit that subscribe button on the YouTube. It really does help us out a lot there. So we appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much for watching. We have After Dark, the season premiere, Saturday night following Sharks and Jets. Pucknologist goes October 24th. Can't have them break down just one game. I mean, that'd be crazy. But October 24th, Jerk and AJ will be able to break down a lot of the stuff and tell me how horribly wrong I am. But until Saturday, we appreciate each and every one of you. Hit us up on the Discord. We're probably going to head over there right now. But until then, it's great to see you, and we can't wait to teal together with you. Keep it real, keep it teal, keep it real teal. Have a great night, everyone. Take care. We need to go eat some dinner right now as well. Good night, everyone. Wow, that went epically failed.
It's fine.